My first reaction to Linkin Park's new vocalist, Emily Armstrong, was that, like, it's alright, but I'm not buying tickets to this. Currently, I'm not buying tickets. That's where I'm at. Well, I bought tickets to the gig in Paris, no less. I'm actually traveling from London to Paris to see Linkin Park live, despite what I said in my initial reaction, because Sleep Token are supporting, massive fan of them, and I'm also curious to see what this is going to be like live. Maybe it makes more sense live in the room, which is something I said in my initial reaction as well. I bet in the room it sounds great. So I'm going to go find out at the La Défense Arena in Paris. Let's go! Alright, quick hop on the Eurostar with other Linkin Park fans. Turns out from London, St. Pancras, all the way to Paris with my trusty Toblerone for breakfast. Alright, we're in Gare du Nord. Let's find some kind of recognizable thing in Paris. What could I... There we go! We're in the right spot. Now, metro hop to the La Défense Arena, following the longest queue in the world and slowest, but it's actually quite a nice looking arena. Well worth the queue wait for this gorgeous building. All right, I'm back in the hotel room having seen the gig. I'm going to try my best to recap what I've experienced. I don't normally do it immediately after seeing a concert, so I'll do my best here. But that was Sleep Token plus Linkin Park at the La Défense Arena in Paris, which, by the way, is a huge arena. I'm used to the Wembley Arena in London, but this one in Paris was super wide. It actually felt more like Wembley Stadium, but indoors. That was a bit of a surprise. The first band up was Sleep Token, who I'm a huge fan of, and I was expecting good things from them. Having seen them play all manner of sizes of venues, I knew this would not daunt them in any way. And the last time I saw them was the Wembley Arena gig, where Vessel lost his voice. So I was really hoping we would see a full force Vessel with Sleep Token. And happily, that is exactly what we got. They opened surprisingly well, initially with a sort of interlude intro song that set a bit of an ominous tone, that then transitioned into The Offering off of the Sundowning album, which for me was an entirely unexpected opening track. Normally that's a bit of a finisher track for them, but it was a wonderful way to establish their authority in the room with such a corker of a track with some heaviness in there. And we had the full force vocals from Vessel, which we were missing at the Wembley Arena gig. So that was epic. They only had a 45-minute set, which for Sleep Token is quite unusual. They're normally playing headliners. So I was super interested to see what their set list was going to be, and they basically just ripped through some big bangers as they went. Because after The Offering, they then played The Summoning, like their biggest, most famous song, and why most people have got on board with Sleep Token since then. What a second song to have hit through. It's an absolute monster, complete with Two's excellent drum solo to that as well, which is a pretty rare thing as well, for the opening act of a gig to have a drum solo featuring in their second track. Sleep Token do whatever the fuck they want, and it was a joy to experience. They then ripped through Vor, which is their heaviest, most recent song, largely scream vocals except for the chorus, and Vessel delighted by doing a ton of the scream vocals, and in fact had this low, I'm going to call them guttural, scream vocal stylings at the end of the choruses, I believe it was, that I haven't heard him quite do live before. Normally it's Four, or affectionately known as Ivy on the guitar, that does the bulk of the scream vocals for that, and Vessel will back him up. But in this particular instance, he delivered the full whack, and it was absolutely incredible. They then played Rain and Alkaline and Granite, and they had 10 minutes left. We figured, well, maybe there's like 2 songs that could fit in that last 10 minutes. But then you could hear the birds chirping for the start of the song, Take Me Back to Eden. I was like, no, okay, if that's one song, because that's a 9-fucking-minute long song, which was an epic ender for their set. Now, for the Linkin Park staging, there is this platform out front, which Vessel made massive use of consistently through his set. And I imagine he enjoyed that especially. And also in moments like in Take Me Back to Eden and in Rain was a bit more of a kind of rap delivery element. Really added to the swagger when he's walking down a plank into the audience, which he did several times in the set. Seemed to work well. I can imagine he might want to adopt that in their sets in future. Their whole visual setup was a lot like their Wembley Arena staging, which was a little bit disappointing in some ways to me, because I think I like it, looks good. You got a massive logo with lights on it, but it is a fairly simplistic sort of setup. Perhaps as the opening act for Linkin Park, they didn't want to experiment with a brand new staging setup. So I do wonder when I see them later this month at the O2 Arena in London for their UK Europe tour coming up, will they have a different staging for that one, or will it be this one again? Remains to be seen. The sound for them was surprisingly low and heavy. Like, I've never been to this arena before, so I wasn't sure what to expect from the sound, but it was a huge low end to it, which made things like the heavier moments in the offering absolutely massive as walls of sound. And yet, the mix allowed for enough clarity in the vocals to shine through from Vessel and also Espera, the backing vocals as well, which really supported through the mix excellently in this particular gig. And there's one moment where one of the voices provided a specific harmony under Vessel's voice, which was absolutely gorgeous. And it's great to see them being a bit more involved in that live sound there as well. 3 came out with a different haircut. It was unexpected. I saw a flash of it because the LED screens weren't showing you a whole lot of detail, but looks like some very short blonde hair. Likes to change his style, so it's kind of cool to see that. But the rest of them, very much their same sort of getup as far as I could tell from what we've seen in recent shows. But yeah, as expected, Sleep Token were phenomenal. And as the set went on, it seemed like Vessel got more and more comfortable because he seemed to do more and more kind of vocal melody runs and variety bits and pieces that aren't the exact same melodies on the record. So he's kind of improvising as he went, it seemed. And then as soon as they finished the last notes of Take Me Back to Eden, they just scuttered off stage as if nothing had happened, and on we went, waiting for Linkin Park to show up to do their set. Now again, as I said in the intro to this whole video, I wasn't super wowed by the reveal of the new vocalist, right? I don't have an issue with them having a new vocalist. I don't mind that they don't sound like Chester. I don't mind that it's a female voice instead of a male voice. I don't care about any of that. I'm interested in the kind of the aesthetic sound of the voice. Do I like it generally? And how much power and force can they deliver to the moments that need them in the songs, in my opinion, right? So I was very intrigued to see what it would sound like in the room. So I even said in my initial reaction to them in their live stream, I bet in the room that sounds amazing, because over the internet, a live stream can take some of the sort of fire out of it. It can be a little bit awkward. So I was really looking forward to seeing them live at this gig in Paris. And I was not disappointed. I would say there was one hot take I have, which is a song that I thought Emily Armstrong featured on better than I remember Chester doing it. That is a fact in terms of my opinions on this. Whether it's better or not, who cares? But I thought it was better. And there were also other moments I thought were on the weaker end of things. But the majority of it, I thought worked really well. And I think she does suit this band's new sound especially brilliantly, and they put on a really good show. They surprised us by opening with Somewhere I Belong, which I did not expect. Their first live stream, they opened with one of the new songs, Emptiness Machine. I really thought they might just open with that one again, or perhaps maybe one of the deeper cuts. But Somewhere I Belong, I suppose that is still a deep cut. That one worked brilliantly, I thought. Emily's voice suited it well. Perhaps in the verses, things were a little bit on the weaker side. She seemed to forget one of the lines that she needed to do as a sort of answer to a call that Mike Shinoda would give. So that was a little unfortunate, but there are going to be mistakes, and actually those moments remind you that it's live. And it's something I say often in my reviews. I don't want it to sound perfect, exactly perfect. I want it to have a bit of power and connective energy to it, and the vast majority of their set today totally had that. And her performance was a big contributing factor to that. Now, it wasn't perfect, as I said. There were moments where I just think maybe it's her register doesn't quite suit some of the lower verse vocal moments that Chester would have done. Crawling, I think, didn't work that well with her vocal styling. But again, most of it, genuinely, I thought did. Obviously, the new songs work really well because I suppose they're sort of written for her voice in mind, but they were all fantastic. The Emptiness Machine was very, very good live. Over Each Other, that was excellent live as well. Brilliant, brilliant performance there. And moments for some older school songs where, you know, Chester's voice is really important for, like My December. She did a phenomenal job of that. It was more of an acoustic sort of rendition of that, kind of stripped back. But that was, for me, one of the highlights of the evening. Now, the real surprise for me was Numb later on in their set. I think Emily Armstrong's feature of that song in this new era of Linkin Park was better than I remember Chester doing it. Like, I thought from start to finish, that entire song, tonight in Paris was incredible. And I was not expecting that going into the evening. And apparently not everyone in the band was either, because at one point after that song, Mr. Hahn, the DJ, had a moment with Mike saying, by the way, wasn't Emily incredible in that song, Numb? That was genuinely staggeringly good. So it was kind of a gig of two halves at times. There were moments when I thought it was incredible, and other moments I just thought it didn't quite land for me. And a song that really encapsulated all of that was Giving Up, which I thought in the verses just didn't really work. However, her vocals in the choruses, and especially the scream that was sustained later on, was perfect. It's fucking brilliant. But you know what? It's all okay. Like, you're rarely, especially if a band's been around for a long time, going to like every single one of their songs, or every single one of the iterations and styles that they go through. When you go to a gig of a band like Linkin Park, who've been here for 24 or 25 odd years, you're gonna get a variety of things, and the performances might vary along with it. You know, and that's fine. It doesn't mean the overall show wasn't absolutely brilliant, which I do think it was, because there were some moments I thought didn't quite work. Like, that's okay, you know? And the moments that did work were so brilliant that those would be the ones I remember after tonight. I'm not gonna think about all the like tiny little bits and pieces that I would have hoped were done slightly differently. And also, who cares? It's one man's opinion. I will remember the things that really surprised me and delighted me, like how good those moments in Giving Up were, and Numb in particular, which had a 3-song sort of ending, with that one into In the End, and then finishing off with Faint. This is pre-encore, which they did have. I've been itching to hear Faint live ever since they did not play it at Download Festival when they headlined there some years ago. So that was brilliant to see, and that was probably the biggest energetic response from the crowd. The entire arena was jumping up and down during Faint. That was a huge euphoric moment. Also, it was hard not to notice, but I don't think it necessarily matters, that for most of the older songs, or at least the songs that Emily wasn't part of writing, she was clearly looking at a teleprompter to get the lyrics. Now, it's not a prerequisite to be a singer in a band that you have to also have a good memory. Like, who knows? Maybe her memory just isn't that great for lyrics, and it's absolutely fine. It doesn't really matter. It's just something I happened to notice. It seems like in order to make sure that the option was there, in case she forgot lyrics, the teleprompter would be there to give those lyrics when available. And I suspect if they are just there in your eyesight, of course you would frequently, even if you're pretty sure you know the next line, just have a little glance down and see and make sure. It's not a criticism, it's just something I happened to notice, that in the newer songs, she was much more free to be herself, would know the lyrics a little bit better, and could deliver them when she was running up and down the stage. The older ones, a lot of looking down to check what the lyrics are. I think because probably she cares a lot about how this comes across. She wants to do as good a job as possible and not fuck up the lyrics. Like, there was maybe 1 or 2 moments where she started a line during a song without the teleprompter there and stopped halfway through the line, perhaps because you realized that's not actually how that line starts. So I get there's a huge set of shoes she's stepping into. Like, Linkin Park are a massive band, huge audience in this huge arena. You want to deliver the best show you can, and you'll use any tool you can to make sure you're as comfortable as possible to give it the best chance. And you know what? All fucking fair enough, and it did not take away from the enjoyment of that gig as a whole. Other fun songs that featured from my own personal preferences was Paper Cut, which is the first one of their encore, and also Points of Authority. I thought absolutely fucking rocked the joint. That was so cool. Largely a Mike Shinoda song, and then Emily's providing sort of the backup in between bits and pieces. That I thought was brilliant. And then they ended on Bleed It Out, which is a huge euphoric kind of sing-along moment. There was kind of tuning issues in one or other of the guitars. Not really clear what that was, but it seemed like Mr. Hahn came in and saved the day with some pianos to carry that through. But it was an amazing spectacle of, what was it? It looks like about 28 songs, according to whoever managed to take note of the set list. I lost track. It was about 2 hours worth, just over 2 hours worth of live music, which is no small feat. And you know what, fair enough having a teleprompter. You're doing 2 hours of songs you didn't write. Like, it's very useful to have those available. With so many lyrics you'd have to learn, as well as all the melodies and the points where you come in and come out. Because also Mike Shinoda was singing a lot of Chester's vocals in moments. So they've had to restructure a lot of the whole live show and how they would do it in this new era that they formed. And it went brilliantly. The crowd seemed to absolutely adore every moment of it. I largely thought it was incredibly impressive and really delivered on the nostalgia I like from Linkin Park. It was a really good rock show with great visuals, really good sound, phenomenal performance moments, especially from Emily Armstrong, who really impressed several times during that show. So was it worth it to spend less than 24 hours hopping to Paris and back from London to see Linkin Park and Sleep Token share the same stage at the La Défense Arena in Paris? The answer for me is abso-fucking-lutely. It already was when Sleep Token finished their set, to be honest. It was so brilliant, wonderful to see them absolutely crush their opening slot there with such a large audience here in Paris. But also, Linkin Park really surprised me live. I thought that was a brilliant new era that they performed, and Emily really shone through a lot of those songs, and it was a phenomenal spectacle for both bands in one night. It was clearly enjoyed by everyone who was lucky enough to be there in that building. So there you have it. That was my experience, at least. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more reviews of exceptional live concerts, then do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm definitely going to be seeing Sleep Token with Bill Murray later on this month. That's super exciting. And there's plenty of others I got planned in the future. Thank you for watching this. Let me know in the comments what your experience was like if you were at this gig. I'd love to hear other stories as well from yourselves. Hope you have a lovely day. Maybe I'll see you in another video very soon.